complaining more than you're talking about your vision, then you're in inertia. Energy goes into those lower frequencies, doubt, worry, fear, and now you're in that dynamic. But if you start talking about possibility, even if you don't know how to get there, then your energy starts to go up. You know, what if? You ask a what if question. What if all my needs were met? What would I be doing in my life? What if everything is really working together for my good? What if all the bad things that have happened in my life are leading me to activating some great potential in my experience? What if God really is on my side? Ask a what if question, and you start to notice little tiny miracles happening in your life. Things start to manifest. You don't know how to...
Thank you for tapping in. This is Brian HRap B. Williams, Standard of Bench Media. This is A Few Minutes with HRap. Again, thank you for tapping in. Thank you to my parents, Dolores and John. Without Dolores and John, there would be no me. Without me, you'd be doing something else with your valuable time. So thank you. If you're not watching this live, what I want you to do is go to there. www.theendofthebench.com, www.theendofthebench.com. That's where you can get this content in its totality. Unless you're watching on YouTube, you can watch it immediately, or you can see the other things that I've done. Thank you for the assistance. Please hit that like button. It is important. It helps me, help you, help me, help you. Now, with that being said, welcome aboard. We're in an interesting time as always. We're always in an interesting moment. It is always an interesting situation when you're dealing with America and Black America. To be specific, as I say every episode, I am speaking to all of humanity, but I am directing my energy to my community, because in order to fix me, I have to fix us. We have to fix us. And if we fix us, then we can go out and help. And that's actually going to be one of the segments of today's show. We are in interesting times. We are getting our civil rights violated. We are under attack. And you can see, whether you want to identify it or not, people who are in power are aiming their ire at us. But it's going to miss, and it's going to miss tremendously, which is an advantage to us, which lets me know that these people don't really know who we are. They really don't know who we are. When your enemy or your adversary does not know who you are at a total advantage. Because if they don't know how to deal with you, guess what happens? You win the battle ultimately. When you're dealing with these things, you must understand what you're up against. And I believe that not too many people in our communities that are not aware of what we're up against. We are up against we are fighting a battle that has been going on for 400 years, first and foremost, but more specifically 162 years, and that's since the emancipation. See, a lot of people say, hey, you have to understand. And that's why do we have to understand? Because no one has been through what we've been through. No one has been stripped of things the way we've been stripped of. No, they are not hate groups created specifically to attack us. They are not laws. There have not been laws created specifically to attack another group. So we don't need to understand. What you need to do is understand. And because a lot of people are feeling the boot across the back of their neck, as we felt for about 100.5 years, a little more than 100.5 years, 150, meaning 100.5, for a century and a half plus. We don't have to understand anything. We don't need to understand. You know what we need to understand? We need to understand that we are the only people that we have in this fight. You know, we have a lot of things that's up against us. But what we have to do first and foremost, and this is important if you ask me, and that is at the end of the day, we need to fix us. How can we fix us? A lot of people say, hey, man, we need to work together and be in unison with other communities. And when you're in unison with other communities, you can get things fixed. But why do we need to fix things in other communities before we fix things in our community? And that's the question I have for everybody in this conversation. Black American unity is the answer. Unity is the answer. Unity across all forms of humanity is the answer. But if our community can't unite and galvanize amongst each other, then we have a problem. See, we go through these cycles in the world where You have people who are hate mongers. They are megalomaniacs, and they put themselves in position to control everything around them. And when they are controlling everything around them, that kind of negative energy only rises to a certain point. And when it gets to its peak, then it usually dissolves, and it will dissolve because that's the way it is. You can only put so much negativity. It has to be a balance. And guess what? At some point, you can put yourself in a position to whereas the positive way outweighs the negative. But I truly believe what I'm about to say. I don't think we actually believe we're in a true fight. We have to fix us. See, to fight, you must be aware of your adversaries. You must be aware of your surroundings, and then you can move forward and successfully defeat anybody, anything that opposes your independence, that opposes your freedom, that opposes your happiness. But if we're not together, if unity isn't in play, we will not get to any of those places. See, what we have is a group of people who claim to love their communities, and then they say, hey, they repeat and regurgitate the things that are destructive to our community. What's one of the things that's being repeated? We are our own worst enemy, because we don't take the time out of our days to look around and ask the questions that we should. It is the ability to think your way through something as a group. I'm not talking about individuals, because it's always that one individual, that one joker that says, hey, not me. But that's the problem. You're worried about you. Rugged individualism cannot beat anything. To quote the great Kwame Ture, if you put George Washington in the middle of Valley Forge by himself, the British would defeat him. You put Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in the middle of Montgomery, Alabama by himself, those Klansmen and those hating people who are down there wanting to subjugate us, they would have destroyed him. But coming together is how you defeat this whole thing. We must help fix us. What's the first thing? Remove the propagandized foolishness that is fed into you, into your home, into your phone, on your social media, interacting with the wrong people, or people with the wrong mentality, I should say. That must go. We must get rid of that. As they say in drug rehabilitation centers, we must get rid of that stinking thinking. We have to. There's not another option. We must get rid of that stinking thinking. The only way you can survive is to remove yourself from the mentality of victimhood, or as if you're a hard luck case. No, you're not a hard luck case. People have been put in place to destroy you. Laws have been put in place to destroy you. And they want you to at a mental area that does not rise above this. You need to have that negative energy at best at ankle level. We are living with it above our heads. What do I mean by we're living with the wrong kind of thinking? The statement, we are our own worst enemies. People see the mainstream media, you see Lil Tommy from whatever street, and Lil Jane, and Lil Keisha, and Lil Tyrone, or whoever. They're committing crimes. They're doing heinous acts. Have you ever wondered, why is it that the Black community, contrary to popular belief, only makes up 38% of the prison population, but you only see us on television? When you see First 48, you see us overwhelmingly. When you see chaotic videos on social media, you see us overwhelmingly. Have you ever wondered, how is it that the prison population is reflective of the true population, but you never see white guys on TV? You never see Arab guys on TV. You don't see a whole lot of late. You see a lot of Latinos, but you don't see a lot of people from other cultures. This might be a stretch, but maybe you should just take time out your day one time and go to night court. Maybe you don't have time to do it, but go to night court and you will see way more people are committing heinous acts than us. Why is it that you allow other people to tell you we're our own worst enemy, or present to you we're our own worst enemy, when you see mass shootings, you see child molestation, you see white collar crimes off the chain. Bernie Madoff stealing billions of dollars from 1968 into 2008. You see your president running the flim flam, talking about $230 million that is owed to him because he was exposed to be a criminal. You see dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of mass shootings, and you pick those few instances and you allow somebody to identify us. I had someone who I know tell me 50% of the Black community participates in criminality because, see, I don't know. As if I stay in the house, I never leave the house, I just go to work and close my eyes and shut the doors and never interact with anybody in the world. Because he allows the pre-programming. He doesn't take time to think his way through this thing and ask himself, why is it that I only see me on TV? Because Black on Black crime is a statistic that most people in America know. Well, 92% of Black people hurt each other. See? What are you comparing it to? No one ever says, but what are you comparing it to? That's horrible. But is it horrible, or is it just humanity? Have you ever heard of Illinois on Illinois crime, Indiana on Indiana crime, Wisconsin on Wisconsin crime, Iowa on Iowa crime? Have you ever heard on white crime? Have you ever heard of Asian on Asian crime? Did you know the largest two criminality organizations on earth are the Russian organized criminal organizations and Asian organized crime? They master in heroin and human trafficking. But do you ever see herds of them being put into vans and say, hey? Now, have you ever asked yourself this? At one point in our lives, one of the biggest names in criminality was John Gotti. He, at the time, was an underboss, meaning, well, he was a captain, and he gunned down the leader of his crime family in the middle of the night in front of one of the biggest restaurants in New York City, and then went and had a party about it. What kind of crime was that? We know who Frank Giancana is. We know who Charlie Lucky Luciano is. We know a whole lot of criminals, but we've never heard of Italian on Italian crime. We love movies like Goodfellas. We love movies like Donnie Brasco. We love these movies. What's the movie? This lady Griselda, and we got people naming their rap groups after these people. Gambino crime family, Bonanno crime family. You got what's the guy in L.A.? He got shot in his eye when he died. He helped start Las Vegas. These people were killed by each other, and they're doing it to this very day. But you never hear them on them crime. Why is it that you only hear us on us crime? Why is it that you only see us on television? But you're foolish enough to say, bam, that's us. Another thing, you have people saying, well, why are you tripping about food stamps? You need to get out and do your own thing. That's one way of thinking. Why are you thinking about healthcare and people need to get jobs and do that? You can look at it that way. Or you can look at it like this. I'm 65 years old. I've been retired for 3 years. Inflation has put me in a position to whereas the retirement money that I set aside does not allow me to exist anymore. So guess what happens? I'm gonna need assistance from the federal government because the government allow tariffs, which allows inflation, and I'm a senior and I need some assistance because I poured into this system for 45 to 50 years. Have you ever thought about that? Why is it that you immediately attribute needing government assistance to somebody in a housing development who's downtrodden, who's not attempted to do anything because that's the picture you've been presented with? That's the picture. Well, okay, well, she shouldn't have had all those kids and then she would need his food assistance. You know what? You shouldn't have done a lot of things as well, and nobody's holding it against you. And guess what? It's a lot of those people in those housing developments that get up and go to work every day, and they just can't make it up to the top. See, understand, when you're in the system that we are in the United States of America, people are placed in certain positions, not because they don't work hard, because a lot of those people in public housing, they go to work and they're some of the best employees at work. Because you know why? Because they love those young people that are in those houses. They love those young people that they created. They breaking their back. They're working 2 jobs, but those 2 jobs at wages that hasn't moved up since 1994. The minimum wage hasn't moved up since 1994. And you want me to be able to live off that. Well, you should have did it. You should have. Now, if you've worked your way from public housing and become a multi-billionaire and without any assistance and nobody ever helped you, then you can say that. But if you've received some assistance along the way, maybe you should rethink that. Ask the question of, why is it that homeless vets, potentially people who have participated in wars, they're living on the streets and now they're not eligible for SNAP benefits and health benefits? Why is that? Explain to me why people who are leaving the foster care, which could be abusive parents, had nothing to do with them. Parents who deceased had nothing to do with them. Parents who are drug addicts had nothing to do with them, and they can no longer receive those benefits. How does that help them? Doesn't that put them right back in the situation that you assume other people in? But you're not looking at it that way. You're looking at it, the welfare queen, black lady. The lazy, downtrodden man, black man. These thieving ass children, black children. But you're not looking at the entire picture. The percentage of people who participate in criminality in these United States of America is about 9.6 to 10%. So how is it that so many people are so lazy or don't want to do it? And guess what? Most people in this country who participate in the government assistance program don't look like me. And that's why you see coast to coast, border to border, no kings, because you know what? All that propaganda and foolishness that has been put out there to make my community and the people in my community look like lazy, trifling bums is not affecting us as much as you think it is. The poverty line, this fictitious poverty line, which is far too high, but we are above it. Guess what? 82% of us are above it. So it's not us. That means 82% of us we're not even eligible for it. But the seniors should be. You should damn near have places for seniors to live free. You've been living and working all these years. You get Social Security, you should get free. If you don't have your own home, you should get free rent. You should damn near be able to walk into a grocery store and then have them buy. You should have SNAP benefits for seniors, and they should be in there and go and buy whatever they want and leave. Point blank, period. If you've busted your back for 35, 40 years and retired, you should be able to get discounts across the board no matter what it is. That's how a society functions that cares about people. Because y'all told me y'all care about people. Now, a lot of y'all walk around with these Bibles. A lot of y'all talk about Allah. A lot of talk about Jehovah Jireh. A lot of us have some type of spiritual entity about ourselves, but we don't want to help people. And we want to point the finger at people in our community as if we're the problem. Well, again, you could have gone to school. Could you have gone to school and got that? To see, fix us and then help others. Let's fix us. Like, for example, I grew up in a neighborhood with one of the top 100 high schools in the United States of America, Lincoln Park High School at that time. I don't know where it is now, and I didn't stay at Lincoln Park. I transferred to West Allis Vocational High School. Now, academically, I should have stayed at Lincoln Park, but socially and communally, Westinghouse put me in a mental and spiritual space that I'll never be able to replace. But here's the difference. At Lincoln Park, they had French, they had Spanish, and they may have had German as a foreign language. Westinghouse didn't have that. They had a computer lab. Westinghouse didn't have that. They had modern dance, a jazz band, and a traditional band. Westinghouse didn't have that, because when you're on the west side of Chicago with less taxes being paid to those people, because if they're living in tenements and not individual homes, you got less taxes going into those schools, so those schools are underfunded. Lincoln Park, you have an affluent, it's in the middle of an affluent neighborhood, very close to what is called the Gold Coast. And they don't call it the Gold Coast because it's gold, because people around there got a bunch of money in their pockets. That means the taxes are being poured into Lincoln Park, which gives you a greater chance for a better education. But we in the Chicago public school system, so shouldn't it be equal across the board? But it is not. Now, there's certain people that'll say, well, you went to a vocational high school, but that don't mean I shouldn't have biology. That don't mean I shouldn't have a foreign language, because in 1984, Dr. Ruth Love just happened to be my freshman year of high school. Dr. Ruth Love said, you cannot graduate from high school without a foreign language. Yet I did. You see the difference? See, I had a college educated mother. I had college educated uncles and aunts. So I understood what was in front of me, and people had conversations with me. But what happens when you're first generation and your parents don't know? So how are you supposed to know? Well, you should have had counselors. Well, I didn't. I did have one counselor who looked out for me tremendously. He was two of them, actually. Mr. Stanton Payne, God rest his soul. God rest his soul. Mr. Frank Lolino, a black man and an Italian man. Mr. Lolino was my freshman counselor, and he made sure I didn't cut class because he called my mom up there, and she cut it to an end. Mr. Payne approached me and talked to me as a human being and got my mind straight. On the other hand, I have a very good friend. He's like a brother. A teacher told him he was going to fall asleep in the welfare line at Lincoln Park High School. How is that enriching? See, when you have a group of people on one end helping, enhancing, and you have people on the other end denigrating and talking down to, where's the motivation? This is why we have to help each other. This is why when you sit around and you say, it ain't all Trump, you sound like a damn fool. Why are you sticking up for a man who couldn't care if you lived or died? If you drop dead tomorrow, that guy, if no other guy in America, that guy wouldn't give a damn about you. But it ain't just him. See, this is because we've lost our ability to continue to inform ourselves, continue to share information, and have conversation versus using talking points. You don't. The Republicans freed the enslaved people. First and foremost, this is what you need to understand. The Republicans didn't free the enslaved people. They freed the enslaved people in the South, which the South had rescinded from the United States of America, which means what? That's like me walking into your house tonight and telling your children, no, you don't have to go to bed tonight. I know you have to go to school tomorrow, but you don't have to go to bed. Your children will look at me and go, who the hell are you? And everything will go the same as it is in your house. Why didn't they free the enslaved brothers and sisters in Kentucky? They ain't free the brothers and sisters in Missouri, but they did it in the Confederate. That's one. Two, when you look into history, you must understand what the Southern strategy was. This means the people who were fighting for the fake emancipation, who was trying to just maintain the status quo in regards to finance, that they said they did it for us. No, they did it for the Union. But those people were Republican at that time. But around 1952, when Republicans started making some concessions for us to be treated like human beings, those same people left the Democratic Party and went to the Republican Party, and those other people that just pretended to help us, they went to the Democratic Party. No party has the best interest in the United States of America for the United Black Americans. None, not one, not O-N-E. O-N, not one, not Democrats, not Republicans. But you're foolish enough to post things about things that you've done zero research for. And some of these people are college educated, which means, why the hell did you go to school? Because when I was in college, I was a C student because I just didn't apply myself to what they were teaching. I knew I could do well enough. I knew I could half-ass it enough to get a degree. And I know that's a horrible thing to say, but it didn't tap into my spirit. I was educating myself in other ways with Black history, actual U.S. history, reading treaties that have been broken, over 1,500 treaties that have been broken with the people who identify as indigenous, the promises that have been broken in 1777, saying, yeah, we said we were going to emancipate you, but no. The Meritos manumission, to whereas you can be free from being enslaved, but if you save a white man's life, make life easier for a white man. Or how about this? Snitch on an enslaved revolt, meaning, hey, if you snitch on your brother and sister, we'll let you be amongst us, but you'll still be down there. But you snitched on them and get them killed, and then we'll move forward. Those are the kinds of things I was studying, because I knew a lot of stuff that you were teaching me was not true. So why immerse myself in it? I get good enough grades, B's and C's, 2.8 GPA, so my mom would not be upset, and then I could move forward. But one thing that I did stick with me was this: when you're writing a paper, Mr. Williams, you must have 3 sites. You must cite 3 sources of where you got your opinion from, meaning you must do the research. And when you do the research and present it to us, we need to be able to back map and see how you came to these conclusions, so that you just couldn't go willy-nilly. And if you are not exercising, some of these people have master's degrees, which means you exceeded the education criteria. You went from traditional bachelor's degree to master's degree, meaning you've mastered education, meaning you are doing something that proves you to be a damn fool. But you have no problem posting this and denigrating people in your community and saying we're wrong because ... See, that's because you're listening with your mouth. You have two ears, one mouth. If you shut up or tone it down, listen to what people have to say, then you can move forward. I've challenged this person to come on this platform and challenge me with his information. And if you're watching right now, tell you what, don't give me the information you want to talk about. Just come on here and bombard me with things. And I guarantee you, I will academically tear you up. But these are the things, these are the problems. Repeating things like we're our own worst enemy. Our children are no good. Our women are no good. Our men are no good. Who do you sound like? And by the way, when you say black man ain't no good and you're a black man, you do understand you're in that same pile with the rest of us. They don't pull you out the pile of crap. You're right in the midst of it. You know, like one of those racist cops or one of those overzealous police officers that will beat the hell out of you for no reason at all. They don't pull up to you. Oh, it's you. You have a master's degree. Oh, you're one of the good ones. No, you're just like me. No matter how crisp your haircut is, no matter how freshly twisted your locks are, no matter how pristinely pressed your suit is, they're not going to cut you any slack. So when you denigrate our children, that means you've paid no attention to our children. Well, I did it for 5 years. So you don't understand. Well, you know what? You are 58 years old and you helped for 5 years. You owe us. But we don't want your help. I don't want your help. The other brothers and sisters in the community, I can't speak for everybody. I don't want your help, because if you can be influenced that easily, I want nothing from you, sir, ma'am, whatever, however you identify, because you are a detriment to our community. And I refuse to engage with people, to quote, that Harriet Tubman would have shot. See, if you see it's a problem in the community, there's a price of admission of complaining, and that's coming up with a solution. My solution is for this problem is to engage in conversation with our youth. Because like the great Marcus Garvey said, it's easier to fix a bush than repair a rotted tree. So I choose to put my focus on young people. I want the young people of America and of the entire diaspora to understand we got your back. I talk to young people. I don't care if you're a young person standing on the corner doing things that maybe you shouldn't be doing, but I can't tell you how to live your life because you're in survival mode. I would pray and hope that you wouldn't, but I understand that you think that's the best way to go about it. I talk to those young men and like, hey, how you doing? What's up? What's up? This, that, and the third. How you doing? I engage. That's why I could walk the city of Chicago without any problem, because no matter where I'm at, I shake hands with young men and women. I engage with them. I talk to the toddlers. I talk to the younger people. I talk to the preteens. I talk to the teens. And I talk to the young adults. All the same. Because I know they're not the problem. As I used as a metaphor last week, if you have a cake that used to be delicious, and then they move out the same cake with the same ingredients, maybe if the cake doesn't taste the same, it's not the ingredients, it's not the cake, it's the chef. And if you haven't implied yourself to be the best chef possible, maybe, just maybe, you're the problem, not the child. How is it that this child, I love you. You hear this all the time in our community. It's not like it used to be. Why isn't it? What's different? You know what's different? The grandmas ain't grandma. Grandfathers ain't grandfather. The uncles, the aunts, the older cousins aren't uncle, aunting, and older cousining. We are all caring about ourselves. See, I got to worry about me and mine. But that's not the way you were raised. You know, you love telling stories about it. If you got in trouble, you get in trouble all up the block, everybody on you. But you don't want to do that. And then you come up with the same old lame excuses. Well, they're not like they used to be. Well, why don't you ingratiate yourself to Mrs. Jackson, Mrs. Washington, Mrs. Smith? So in the event that you have to check one of their children, they understand, hey, that's Mr. Williams. He likes my children. We have a relationship. Therefore, he has the ability to approach my child and correct him and bring that child to me and say, hey, he was down the street. But who the hell wants strangers chastising their children, correcting their children? Who says that you're telling the truth? But you don't know how many people on your block do you know? How many people with 3 houses this way, 3 houses that way, and 6 houses in front of you do you know? If you live in an apartment building, do you know the other people on the floor that you live on? And if you don't, again, you're the problem, not the child, because the child is not being raised in the environment that you were raised in. Because you got the excuses ready. Because you're not doing it the way you were taught to do. If you were taught 8 times 9 is 72, don't try to get 72 ones and say it's the same. No, it's not. That's not the way you were taught. Because you were not taught 72, and you taught groups of 8 or groups of 9. And you ever notice groups is the key. So if you don't fix us, we can't help other people. And if you can't help other people, you're lost. That's the problem. Everybody understands the biggest problem is this. We're the biggest problem we have. No, we're not. No, in the entire hell, we are not. When you have government officials openly and honestly saying in 1975, or it was 1972, saying he admitted, they did it in 72, he admitted in 1989, we couldn't stop people from protesting. So we put the marijuana on the whites and the heroin and the cocaine on the blacks and criminalized them. When you have the president's top aide saying that on 2020, one of the biggest news media shows in the history of the United States, he said that. And then the same year, you have Oliver North and George H.W. Bush on TV. They talking about how they use crack cocaine to fund fighting communists. And which lets you know, you don't create crack cocaine overnight. This is an ongoing situation that was injected into our community. Simultaneously as you inject a poison, a white kryptonite into my community, you defund the schools and you remove places of employment. So you put people in survival mode and then you give them poison to survive on, and then give them semi-automatic weapons to survive with. So don't tell me we're our own worst enemy. Don't tell me how in 1965 and 1968 and 1964, you had 3 of the most tremendous laws passed to help us, our community. Everybody in the country benefited because when you get the Civil Rights Act, you get the Voters' Rights Act, and you get the Housing Act, you can live where you want. No one can discriminate against you, and you can be a citizen, and people can come over here and be citizens. So everybody who's over here, shout out to the civil rights people, the Dr. Kings, the Whitney Youngs, the Fannie Lou Hamers, the Medgar Evers, and all those people who lived and died so you can have those rights. And guess what? Most of those rights are gone, but we're our own worst enemy. Do you understand that if you were born in 1968, your mother in 1968 could not get a credit card or a bank account without your grandfather or her husband's permission, had to write on it. That law was passed in 1972. Those laws are being eroded away. And you still think the people who put cocaine and weapons in and took away money and funding and academic excellence and music and art from your schools and put chaos into your community, you still believe you're your own worst enemy. See, you don't study history, so therefore you are a victim of your history. History don't repeat itself. People repeat the mistakes of history because they don't know. Because you've been told, hey, it ain't that important, but it is that important. It's way more important than you want to believe it is, but you don't want to do that. You would rather come together and live in a situation to whereas you could point the finger because you got 50 cents, somebody else got a dime. You think you better than them. You would rather live in a society where your brothers and sisters look like bums and you can point a finger at them and say, you need to get yourself in order. And what's the benefit of working with others? See, not just getting things accomplished, but working with others must come with conditions. You see this? You see that picture right there? That's a coalition. Whether you be white, whether you be brown, whether you be black, whether you be Asian. Those are the people that live in this community. Those are the people that live in this country today, in these United States of America today. Working together is the only way it's going to get done. So don't think I'm some type of hate monger and going to talk about discriminatory practices and we should discriminate against others. But there also must come conditions, because guess what? We realized the mistake that we made in the 60s. We made concessions for everybody to live peacefully, but we didn't make a plan for us. See, you confused Dr. King's request for the ability to go to Macy's and Gimbel's and Marshall Fields and Bloomingdale's and all those other institutions and hospitals and things, for that their ice is colder, their lights are brighter, their blankets are warmer. No. In the event that I get sick, I need to be able to go to any hospital in the United States of America. In the event I'm in a pinch and I can't get to a store in my community, or I'm far away and the closest store is somebody else, I need to be able to go in there without harassment. That's what he was saying. But you and a lot of other people confused it with, it's better over there, we need to go over there. No, we should have stayed where we were, like everybody else does in this in this country. Yeah, there's a little idiot in just about every Italy and just about every major city. There's a Chinatown in just about every major city. They're little such and such as no matter where you go for whatever culture, and nobody frowns upon that. Just north of here in Chicago on Howard Street between Western and then when you go into another city, which is Lincolnwood and Skokie, there's a Jewish community that is strong. They have their own police station, and when you go into Brooklyn, New York, they have their own 911, and nobody complains about it because that's their option as citizens of these United States of America. In 1959, we were at 85% literacy, and we own 80% of the things that were in our community. We own our own grocery stores. We had our own dentists. We had our own doctor's offices and things of that nature. But you know what? When you had the ability to move away, you did, instead of building up your community, because you immersed yourself into Americana instead of immersing yourself into Black America. See, everybody else kept their identity but us. So the benefits of working with people is you get laws in place and you get to make the federal government do what they're supposed to do. People don't even realize what the president, the senators, the representatives, the governors, the mayors, the city council, government is designed to allocate resources. That's it. That's all. And if those people are not allocating resources, then we don't need those people in play. See, it's easy to say, well, they are not going to do it. But what are you basing it on? They're not going to do, this guy didn't do this and this. See, they gave it to those people because those people that you're referencing stayed in their close-knit community. They worked together. They reached out to us so we can have a coalition, created boundaries for those to coalesce. And then they said, while we're coalescing, what we'll do is work with you, get some of the concessions that you won't get, this concessions but I won't, and I'm going to take them back to my community and continue to build. But meanwhile, we continue to move away, dimming the light of our community. If you are a physician, why move away from your patients? You can stay right there and live a better life, and then continue to make the progression of, I'm on the left side of the community. I'm on the left side of the community. I'm doing my thing for my people. So instead of moving away, I'm going to invite another doctor in, another nurse, and then we're going to be a greater influence on our people instead of moving to in communities, whereas it will only benefit affluent people. See, that's what we need to get to doing. So the benefits of working for others is to see how they do it, take that information and come back to you and say, hey, this is how we need to do it. I just witnessed this with coworkers. I witnessed this with friends from other cultures, and we need to adapt those principles into ours. And then we create a plan of operation. We mobilize, come together, organize, and then execute. That's the benefit of working with others, because you can see the mistakes that you've made, because those mistakes not being made over there, and you bring those back to our community, and you uplift our community, and you develop our community, and then guess what? Everybody's happy because you have people, the Hebrew faith, they're over there doing their things. You have Italians doing their thing. You have Irish doing their thing. You have Spanish doing their thing. You have the Latino community doing their thing. Then you have the Black community doing their own thing. And guess what? Then the United States of America becomes that melting pot that they always talk about, because it's a well-oiled machine and we're all cogs in the machine. But instead, we try to take the lightest, brightest over here. We're going to move over there. We're going to move over there. We're going to move over there. And then we're going to look back and say, look at them, which is asinine, which is asinine. We can no longer live like that, y'all. We can no longer live like that, because we're losing in that fight. That fight is a losing battle, and we've been losing for a very long time. We can no longer participate in the tomfoolery that is presented to us in that fashion. That way, there is no potential hate. Oh, well, you're trying to put. No, I'm just doing what I have to do to make sure the Williams, the Jacksons, the Smiths, the Johnsons, and whoever else are in my community, we have the biggest, brightest, and strongest community that we can create. Now, you're welcome to come over and visit and engage. Hell, you can move over here. And there's nothing wrong with that. And some people can move over there, but you know what? By and large, we need to have our affluent on this block, on Western. We need to have our middle class on Damon, and we need to have our striving people on Ashland. That way, we have a community. We have people from our community that can look down the block and say, hey, I got to be like those guys down there. Or I got to be like the guys in the middle. And when we're in the middle, then it becomes a cyclical thing. And those people that are striving to be better on Ashland Avenue at 1600, it's a wonderful situation, because you have something to look forward to. And the people at 2000 West on Damon Avenue, they're striving to be like the people at 2400 on Western. That's how you make things better. That's the benefit of working for others, because you get the tactics, the traditions, the cultural relevance, the things that you strive to be. You might see it in other communities and bring it back to yours. That's the whole purpose of going to college. It's not to learn something, because everything you can learn in college, you can learn in a book on your own. But you interact with other people who have the same mentality with you. You take that information, you bring it back to your community, you uplift your community. That's why you go to college, not so you can get a good job. Not so I can get a good job and I could be on top of things. Nah, that's not what it is. You can make it that. And I ain't mad at you for making it that. You can do whatever you want to do. But what we have to do is work with Black America and make sure Black America is okay. And if you don't do that, then you will suffer the consequences. What does that mean? Working with Black America. Black America is not foundationally Black Americans. Now, I understand the concept of reparations. I understand the concept of reparations, and reparations will put you in a position to whereas you can repair and rebuild. I get it. And other people from other communities can do that. But guess what? Black America are Black people who live in America, because the difference in you and somebody from the Bahamas, the difference between you and the people in Jamaica, hey, prayers going out to Jamaica, Category 5 hurricane in the midst of that. I pray for all the brothers, sisters, others, and anybody who on that island. I hope you be safe. But the people from all over this world that look like us, we need to be coalescing more than anybody in the history of the world. Because if you're over here, if you're a Jamaican, if you're a Bohemian, if you're a Trinidadian, if you are anybody from if you're from Haiti, if you are from the Dominican Republic, or if you're from the United States, Brazil, or the United States of America, if you stood us all together and told us to do like this, they wouldn't be able to tell unless you open your mouth and they hear the way you sound. So if they're lumping us in optically, because when the police see us, they're not going to say, oh, that's a person from Trinidad, let them go. No, they're going to say Black. The people who are disrespectful, they're going to say black. So just imagine if it's already 55 to 60 million of us in this country, if we unite with our brothers and sisters from the island, first and foremost, we have somebody, a different culture, the different traditions that look like us, that are part, that are bringing African traditions that have not been augmented, and then they're enhancing us. Then we can enhance them with the information we have. And guess what? You have an alternative place to go. Now you can enhance yourself by going down to Barbados. You can go down to the Bahamas and engage with the Bohemians. You can go to Jamaica and engage with Jamaica. You can go to Haiti. You can go to the Dominican Republic. You can go to Brazil, where the largest population of non-African blacks on the face of the earth lives. And we can work together and enhance things. So that's what being black. What does that mean? Black American means I'm a black person that was born in America, but my roots are the source of mankind, the place where they found the first human beings in Africa. Being black American to be and adjacent to being African is no different than being from Illinois and Indiana. We live in the United States. Or being Illinois or Iowa, we live in the United States. Or being Illinois and being Wisconsin, you live in the United States. Or Tennessee, or wherever my people are, we black in the United States. See, you don't realize that we're saying it wrong. Black American could be North America, Central America, the Gulf, North America, Canada. North America, which includes Mexico and Canada. Do you know there are provinces that are totally African in the center of Mexico? Nothing but people that look like you and I. But you've never taught that because you have been fed a bill of goods that make you think you must separate yourself from the people who look like you. You don't. Only people that are instructed to do that are people that look like me. We're the only people that are instructed to do that. And we're the only people dumb enough to fall for it. So no, you get to be black American, whether it's North, Central, South, or the Gulf, or African. Because we are the same. As Frankie Beverly famously said, we are one. And if you don't want to be mistreated anymore, you must unite. If we are the global majority, which we are, and we start coalescing, which we should, who could beat us? You come from the most resourceful continent on the planet. You are the most creative people on the planet. You are the most innovative people on the planet. Some of the most intelligent people on the planet. Some of the most rhythm-driven people on the planet. So why, oh why, do you need anybody else to coalesce with unless it's out of pure option? With that being said, I'm going to need us to work together with us so we can be a better us and don't need anybody else but us. I want to thank you for tapping in. If you have not already, I want you to hit that like button. Hit that like button. Tell a friend to subscribe and tap in. I am Brian HRap B. Williams. I will see you shortly. Watch this to the end. Don't just, when I end, don't end. I want you to watch this to the very end because it's going to be something powerful said. Thank you for tapping in. Have a wonderful day. 2 fingers, 1 word. I'm Rap B and I.
See, I agree that you need allies to an extent. My disagreement with the major exponents of the coalition theory for black people, notably Mr. Bayard Rustin, is that they never decide upon what terms you coalesce with people. Anyone knows that as a rule of politics that one coalesces on specific issues. You don't get married to an organization for lifetime. Therefore, it is inherent in the black power concept that one organizes independently oneself first and deciding what is to one's interests, and then one can coalesce with groups if one can find those groups. Now, if in fact we follow Reverend Williams's logic to its conclusion, it then says that in the long run, white people are going to be against us anyway if we move for our liberation and they don't like it. And therefore, what we must do is do it on their terms. Because if we didn't do it on their terms, the whole 60% in Atlanta, or nationwide, the whole 90% would come together against us. And in my own feeling, it just absolutely agrees with what I say, that this country is racist from top to bottom.